Hello friends, welcome back to Program with Akshay, and this is the continuation of our AWS Step Function Masterclass. In this video, we are going to see a small integration of Step Functions and Lambda, that is Lambda function integration. That means we are going to create and test a Lambda, and we are going to integrate with AWS Step Functions. So we are going to create an AWS Lambda. We will go to Lambda services and we will create a new Lambda where we are going to fire up some list, that is the list of greetings like good morning, good evening, and good afternoon, and we are going to integrate in AWS step function. So let's start to integrate this lambda into the AWS step function. So to integrate lambda, we have to log in into AWS console, and once you log in into the AWS console, go to the lambda, and inside the lambda, make sure that your lambda and your AWS step function which you are going to create are residing in the same region. Okay, and create a function. Okay, and let's create the function from scratch. We will say this as greetings lambda, and make sure the runtime is latest, and we need permissions. Okay, so we need an execution role. So I will create a new execution role, that is the new IAM principal for the execution of lambda. Okay, and keep the advanced settings as it is, and let's try to create a new function. Once the function will get created, it will have a sample return hello world. We will try to modify it. Okay, so this is the greetings lambda has been created, and if you try to see the code, yeah, so if you try to see the code, we have something called as a const handler, which we have seen in this AWS CDK, where it is having a response. In the response body, it is having a status code and body as a json.stringy file written hello from lambda, and we are returning the response. Okay, so I will delete this code, and to speed up things, I have already copy pasted the code in the notepad. Okay, and let me copy paste this code here. Yeah, so we are having an exports handler which is returning an async function and which is having an event, and inside the list we are doing the greeting. Okay, that means hello good morning, hello good afternoon, and hello good evening. Okay, so this is a list. Okay, that is nothing but an array, and inside the list we are going to display. That means once you try to execute the lambda inside the step function, first it will display hello good morning. So then second time once you try to execute, it will display hello good afternoon, and third time if you try to execute, it will display hello good evening. Okay, so for this we have created a new variable seed and multi, and we are trying to log those events into the seed and multi. Now we are doing the math.random function. Okay, that means we are exploring math.floor, and inside the math.floor we are calculating the multi and the seed value which is stored in the seed and multi variable, and then we are returning a response. That means we are having a status code, and we are returning a body, and inside the body we are trying to return that list. Okay, so without a further ado, let me try to save this. Okay, I guess it is saved, and let's me try to deploy it. As you can see, the changes are not been deployed because I have deleted my previous code, that is hello world from lambda, and I copy pasted the code from the notepad. So let me try to deploy this first. Once the function will get updated, you can test the function. So we are not going to test the function right now. We will try to, if you wanted to test it, okay, you can do the testing. Okay, and let me try to create a new event, like suppose test event. Okay, and let you can test it. Okay, okay, it will give an error because it is an saying that the exports is not been defined. Okay, so it will give you an error. So let me go to the code again. Exports is not been defined. Okay, yeah, yeah, so let me try to pass it. Okay, let me try to test it again, and inside the test, okay, let me try to create a new event. Okay, again, and inside the new event, let me try to pass a JSON here. I haven't passed the JSON. That is why it was giving an error. So seed, let me pass it as 0 first, and multi, we have something called as multi, and multi we have passing as 2. Okay, and let's try to test it now. Okay, it is failing again. Exports is not been defined. Why it is giving me an error? We have already deployed. Let me try to save this first. and then let me try to taste it. Okay, no, still it is giving me error. Let me go to the code. Now exports.handler, yeah, it is correct. The code is correct, exports.handler, and yes, that is returning in response inside the index.js. Okay, so after doing a little bit of googling, I have found out the issue that we have declared exports.handler. So instead of exports.handler, we have to create a variable, and inside the variable we have to assign that handler, that means const handler, and we have to export this handler. Okay, and once you have done, you can test it, and you can find the output here, hello good morning. And if you try to test it again, you will have good afternoon, and if you try to test it, you will have good evening, if I'm not wrong. Right, yeah, good morning. Okay, good evening is not working. Let me check why the good evening is not working. Yes, hello, it should have hello good evening. Let me try to check. Yeah, hello good afternoon, greeting. Yeah, hello good afternoon. Test again, hello good afternoon. It is coming, it should come good evening, good afternoon, good morning, good afternoon, good morning. Yeah, good evening is not working for the third item in the list. Good evening. Yes, so you have to pass the multi as 3. So in that way, I have passed multi as 2. I haven't seen the body. So that is why it is was not showing good evening. So now it is showing good afternoon and good morning and good evening. Okay, so this is how we have created the Lambda. Now let's try to go to the AWS step function, and inside the AWS step function, we will try to create a new step function. Okay, let's create a new state machine, and let's try to create a blank state machine. Okay, and let's try to give a name, appropriate name. Let's say it as Lambda handler. Okay, and we will select as standard and select an existing role for execution of that step function, and let's try to create it. So once our configuration is done, okay, why it is giving me an error? Well, you cannot start at why. Okay, let's try to ignore it, and let's try to add an lambda. Okay, and let's try to name that lambda. Okay, and you can name it. Okay, say it as greetings lambda. You can name it as greetings lambda. Okay, you can add a wait state here. Okay, that means a pass. Okay, or you can add a wait state. Okay, you can add a wait state, and you can add a pass here, and you can add uh wait for some seconds. You can add it. Okay, and you can add those like 10 seconds. Okay, now this is normal pass. Okay, normal pass through, you can add it, and this will end. Okay, and this is the greeting lambda. Okay, now inside the greeting lambda, you can see there is something called as API parameters, where you can see your function name which is you have created. Make sure you are in the same region in which your lambda is been created. Use the input as the payload. Okay, if you wanted to enter the payload, and it will, the next state is the pass through, and the pass through it will end. Okay, so let's try to create. Okay, once you try to create this lambda, okay, and let's start an execution. Okay, and inside an execution, you have to pass something called as seed, where we have passed a 0 inside the lambda, and multi as 3. Yeah, if I'm not wrong. Let's try to execute here, and hopefully it should execute. It's taking time. Yeah, it is failed. Let's see the error. Okay, so invoke lambda invoke function on the resource. This is this function because no identity based policies allowed on invoke function. That means we have something called as access denied. That means this greeting lambdas is not having permission to invoke or to run those lambdas. Okay, so you can go to edit step function here. So once you try to go to edit state machine, and inside the edit state machine we have something called as config, and inside the config we should see a create new role. And inside the create new role, yes, once you select a create new role, you will see that execution role will be created with full permissions. That means for this lambda will have all the rights to execute. Okay, let's try to save and confirm. You can see that it is asking and confirmation. Let's try to confirm and let's try to execute now. Okay, so the changes have been saved, and let's try to press a new execution, and let's start an execution, and this should be through. Execution is in progress. It is waiting for 10 seconds now. Then it will trigger the greeting state. Yes, so we are able to pass through. Okay, now if you see the execution is being succeeded, okay, we are seeing hello, good afternoon. Okay, let's try to have another new execution. Okay, wait state entered right now, and we should see the greeting lambda is being entered. The lambda is being invoked, and it isn't passed through. It has passed through. The task has gone to the pass through state, and it has end. Now let's see the execution. Now we are able to see the hello, good afternoon, and we should see. I guess next time we should see. Let's pass it as 2, and let's start an execution again. It is waiting for 10 seconds. Yeah, it is being completed, and we should see hello, good morning. That means each and every new execution, once you try to update your seed and multi parameters, you can see the body is being changed. Okay, so just try to understand the concept here. Okay, that means if once you try to go to the state machine, and inside the step machine, let's try to edit. Okay, and like we have an invoke and lambda. That means we have invoked and service. Okay, and this lambda is being created. Okay, we have created the lambda, we have created the list, we have passed the seed and multi, and we are generating the response. Okay, and this lambda is been invoked in AWS step function. Okay, so we have like each and every execution we are passing a input parameter as seed and multi, and this is how we are displaying the inside the list of objects. Like we have something called as good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. We are displaying those greeting messages. Okay, so this is how you can invoke AWS service inside the step function. So in this video we have seen how to invoke a single lambda. In the upcoming video we will see how to invoke another lambda. That means here we are going to pass an input. In our case, we will pass something called as seed and multi as 2. So this lambda will get invoked, and we will try to invoke another lambda. Okay, that means we are trying to create another lambda inside the same region, and this will pass an input to this lambda, and it will produce an output, and it will end the state machine. Okay, so we will try to see how to invoke another lambda. That means it will pass those input to another lambda, and it will produce an output, and it will pass through another state. Or you can do an a control. You can do any flow execution like an if and else statement, a control switch. So this is how you can create the workflows in AWS step function while integrating more like AWS services. So in the upcoming sessions, we are going to see how we can integrate another lambda inside the AWS step function. So stay tuned, guys, and let me know in the comment section if you have any doubt or you are struggling with configuring the step functions. Do let me know in the comment section. Do message me. I'm happy to answer. Do subscribe to the channel, and if you found this content very useful, do like and share with your friends. See you in the next session. Happy learning, and bye bye, and take care.